Hello and welcome to the International Student Experience, a Swansea University podcast dedicated to showcasing stories of students from around the world who've chosen to study in the UK. My name's Dav Turner and I'll be your host, and in today's episode I'm joined by Lexie Stewart from Canada, who's studying an undergraduate degree in law with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Lexie, can you tell us a bit about your background, what your journey through education was and how you got to Swansea Uni?
Yeah, so I was born in Ottawa, and then when I was 5, my mom got transferred for work. So we moved to Montreal. She works for the federal government in Canada. And so I spent 5 years living there, studying in French, and then we moved back to Ottawa when I was 10. I decided to go to an arts high school, so I studied vocal music, so classical vocal music. So I have a musical background, which is really nice. It's kind of random that I decided to go into law, but I always knew that that was the career path I wanted to go down. My mom always tells these stories, like when I was younger, I guess I would ask what does that person do? Or what kind of job is that? Or, what do you have to be good at to have that job? And she tells this story where we were driving down the road one day and I stopped and said, what does a lawyer have to be good at? What do you have to be good at to be a lawyer? And she says she about just drove off the road because she's arguing, debating, talking, asking questions. She's like, you would be perfect. And so I think ever since that moment, I kind of knew that I wanted to go down that route for a career. Yeah. So after high school, I applied for the Trent Swansea dual degree program back in Canada. So Trent University is a school in Peterborough in Ontario. So it's about 3 hours away from where I lived. And so basically you do 2 years of your undergrad. You can pick a major. So I picked history because I really like history. So you study that for 2 years and then they send you to Swansea. So I started in September 2021 here. And I've been studying law and done 2 years, absolutely loved it. Next year's my last year and I'm very sad to be leaving. It hasn't even started yet, but I'm already sad. Yeah, so that's the education side, I guess. And then after, we finish the program, we finish our time here at Swansea, and then we go back to Canada to study for a year, and then we're released into the world. So that's the education side. I mean, at home, it's just me and my mom. She had me using a sperm donor. So we're each other's family and we're very, very close, which is really nice.
That's interesting. So have you got a lot of half brothers and sisters around the place?
Yeah, so there's over 20 of us now, which is relatively small for this type of family, which is crazy. We're kind of all over North America. It's an American company that my mom used. So there's only really, I think, 4 of us in Canada. Everyone else is American, but gone on some interesting road trips to meet some people, which has been awesome. And just getting to know everyone. It's a lot easier now that, we can FaceTime and have group chats and stuff like that. So it's been really great.
So when did you find that? Have you always known that?
I've always known that my mom had me that way. She was of the opinion that it was really important to be really honest. And obviously having one parent, it's a lot easier to kind of, kids ask questions, and I definitely did. But my mom kind of believed that as I grew up and asked more questions, she'd give me more information. So, when I'm little, she's not going to explain the whole medical process to me. It was more just, the doctors helped me have you. And then as I could comprehend more, it was more of an explanation. So when we're born, we're given obviously a donor file. So that's medical history. And so, having that information, and my donor decided to write a little bit of a short essay. So getting to read that, and there was a picture of him as a kid. So having that and reading that whenever I wanted, just being open with it. But then in terms of the half siblings, so technically that's all it's private information. You can share it if you want to, but you don't have to go out and look for half siblings. That's everyone's right. But there's this, it's called the donor sibling registry. So we became aware of it in, I think when I was 15. So it's a website, I think it's from the US. It was a woman and her son who, she had him through donor insemination. And so they decided to take on this together. So you log on, you put in your donor number, and all your half siblings pop up, which is crazy. So yeah, when I was 15, I think there weren't 20 of us. There were only a few that were registered, but some of them had been registered since, they were born. So these people had been in contact their entire lives. So I was a little bit late to the party, but I became really close with my half-brother Briley. So he lives in Kansas. And so we're very close in age. He's a year older than me. He's the oldest. He likes to tell everyone that. So far, he hasn't been proven wrong. Yeah, so spoke with him for a few years. We ended up meeting. And we've remained close today. And I've met a half sibling who lives an hour away from me. She used to live like in Ottawa where I lived, but they ended up moving. And like, there's a crazy story where she was thinking of going to the same high school that I was going to. So just madness that we would have met each other organically. Yeah. So that's been a bit of an adventure that I've been doing pretty much since high school.
So have you traveled around a lot to meet this wider family?
Yeah. So the first time we met up, we went to New Jersey. So one of my half sisters had a vacation home there. So the three of us met up and got to spend, I think it was like a week together, which was awesome. And then lots of road trips back and forth there. And then I went down to Missouri, I think when I was in grade 12, so a few years later after that, and met up with some other half-siblings who lived there. And then, just spending time. So they've come up to Canada to meet one of my other half-siblings who lives in Canada. Yeah, so lots of little road trips. It's been really nice, yeah.
Do you think with that wider family and all that travel and then moving around when you were younger, do you think that helped feed into your decision to study outside of Canada?
I definitely think so, because just my sense of family is very different, I think, than just the normal concept of the word, because obviously I'm super close to my mom and she is my family, but she tells a story where it was Father's Day and I was really young. I think I was like 2 or 3. And so they kind of approached her and they were like, listen, it's Father's Day. We're doing this craft where we're doing like everyone's family's trees. And so, Lexi's might be like a little small. And I was like, okay, like I'll have a talk with her. And then she went to pick me up that day and my family tree was bigger than anyone's because, I had the neighbors and my friends and their dogs and just these people that I kind of collected, like my little village, my mom calls it. So I think, having that version of my family, then adding all the half siblings in really made me look for those sense of community wherever I could. And so I think that helped me in a way, because when I came to Swansea, it does seem like this crazy daunting thing to move all the way from Canada, but I've kind of created this little community for myself, taking part in societies or just meeting people in classes. And so I feel really comfortable here. And I mean, I'm only here for 3 years, but I feel like I have put down roots and I'm going to miss this life that I've created for myself here. So I do think that's really helped me.
Do you think having access to societies when you're here, did that help then with you creating that community when you came over?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm part of the Canadian Law Society. So I mean, it's open to any student that is interested. And there are a few that are, UK-based students, but they are interested in learning about Canada. It's open to, obviously, Trent students makes up the big part of it because there's a lot of us here. But there are just students who are from Canada. And now that Trent has programs with engineering students and med students as well, they're always welcome to join. But yeah, having that has been amazing because it's taken, obviously I knew people who were in my program before I moved to Swansea, but some people didn't. And so it's nice to, go to class, make your own friends. But if you want that feeling of like belonging or, you're looking to talk about something Canada related, you have that kind of group that you can go to and, we're there and it's been really helpful. I don't feel homesick really. Like it's nice to have that sense of belonging, I guess.
Were you able to make those connections and have contact with people before you came over?
Yeah, so Trent has, at least when I was there, I'm pretty sure they've brought it back after COVID, but it was a separate residence for students who were going to be moving to Swansea. So I met some really close friends through that. And they ended up moving, and then we ended up, getting a house together in Swansea when we got here, which was nice. And then, so obviously there's the Canadian Law Society here, but there's also a society back home that essentially is the same thing, but it's just the Trent-based one. So we would put on events, and I met some of my closest friends doing that. So I did have, and I knew of people that were in the program because we would get together maybe like once a month. But now those people are like my really close friends now that we're, taking every class together in Swansea.
Any other societies you've been able to join?
Yeah, so I joined the Choral Society and obviously the Tea Society. We have academic mentors at Swansea, and so I went in for my first meeting. We're talking about everything, and she's like, "Okay, like what are you doing? Like, what societies have you joined?" I'm like, "Well, I'm doing the Law Society, the Canadian Law Society, the Barrister Society." She's like, "Okay, but what about like fun? Like, what do you want to do for fun?" I was like, it hadn't even crossed my mind because obviously we're here to study, but I'm so glad that I reached out and did that because I met UK-based students as well and other international students through choir, and it's just something fun. Like 4 hours of my week, it's not that much time where I just get to turn my brain off and just have fun. So that's definitely been amazing. Yeah.
Any other hobbies you get to enjoy when you're over here outside of studying?
Yeah, I mean, I love reading, and combined with my love of being by the beach, I like to go and read by the beach. Sometimes it's a little wet, but when the weather's nice, that's been great. And we're big like cafe people. So just visiting all the different cafes in Swansea has been really, really good. One just opened right by our house. So my bank account is suffering, but I am having a good time.
Get to indulge that tea society.
Then my tea society side comes out, yes.
When you are studying, have you got like any particular modules you're really into?
Yeah, so I don't know, like I had this vision for myself of what I wanted to do with my law career, and then I kind of got here and everything kind of changed. I got really involved with, I guess, like ADR, so alternate dispute resolution, because Swansea has amazing programs with these skills competitions. So in my first year, I got involved with mediation. And so I did those competitions. And then this past year, I got really into negotiation. So there's the CEDAR competition, so the Center for Effective Dispute Resolution. So there's a regional round and then nationals, and then we made it past nationals. So my friend and I, who were also Canadian, both Canadian, we represented Wales at the international competition, which was amazing. So that was in July and it was in Italy. So that was really fun. So doing these classes and these competitions have really opened up a new side of the legal options in terms of careers that I can do. So that's been amazing. And then I'm also super interested in family law. So in your second year, you get to pick 2 modules that you can choose. So I chose to do both family law modules and absolutely love them. So yeah, I guess the next continuation for those ones would be there's a reproductive law class. So we started talking about like surrogacy and IVF and some donor stuff in the family law classes, but the next steps would be to take that reproductive law course. So I'm really looking forward to taking that next year.
Okay, so I suppose that's interesting for you because you're able to bring an aspect of yourself to that module that other people might not be able to.
Yeah, I mean, for some people it'll just, it's theoretical learning, but for me that's like my own personal experience. So I definitely loved talking about those topics this past year, and so I'm really excited to learn more about them and to even, I know a little bit about the Canadian system, but to learn about the UK system as well. It's all really interesting because we spent a lot of time talking about surrogacy, and already I'm like kind of connecting the dots of like, oh, we do this differently in Canada. So just learning about that I think is going to be really interesting.
Are you planning on developing that any more, taking that a bit further?
I think so. I mean, the thought has crossed my mind. Like I definitely, feeling that personal connection to it and like that passion, I definitely could see myself studying more. It's something that I find so interesting, and there's so many layers to it that I just, studying more would be great. Like I don't really know what I want to do after. Like obviously I know I want to finish the program here and then go back in Canada, finish that year. Whether I come back to the UK to finish, do more studies or to practice here, that's an option, or back in Canada. But I think that honestly, something that I am really considering is maybe doing a master's in this type of learning of this education, like of reproductive health and education, I think is really important, and it could be really, really interesting.
Yeah. So you seem like someone who's always had a plan. You seem like a natural planner, but also able to change that plan if something comes along the way. Is there anything that you would recommend for like helping navigating plans and changing plans? Because you seem quite resilient to change as well.
Yeah, I was always like that kid, like because I knew I wanted to be a lawyer from a very young age. My mom called it my 25-year plan. And definitely when I was a lot younger, I was really hesitant to stray from that. Like that was what my plan was. It made sense. I have to kind of follow all the steps. And it was easy because in a way with the Trent program, it's 6 years of my life that are definite, that are going to be exactly what I think they're going to be. And then COVID hit and I was like, oh my gosh, am I even going to go to the UK? What's going to happen? And so I kind of had to like sit down and think about it really. Like, I mean, I had moments of self-doubt, like before COVID even, like, can I really do this? I mean, I am definitely confident in a way that I could manage it. But at the same time, I was young. I still am young. Like moving to an entirely new continent is really scary. And doing it at a time during COVID was really scary as well. But I think that I just had to kind of trust myself and trust the people around me that I could do it. And so I took those steps and it ended up being amazing. Like I always say, I'm kind of like waiting for the other shoe to drop where I'm going to be like, oh my God, like I miss home so much, or I can't do this. But everything's just gone really smoothly. And I think that is because, I put in the work when I was younger to make this work for myself and, take those steps to make sure that, I can handle it and it's fine. now knowing everything that I do know, I think I would, if I could, go back and say, like, maybe just relax like a little bit. Like, you know, you can have everything planned or have an idea of what you want to do, but it doesn't need to be as strict, I think, as I was making it. I think that looking back, like, I would probably be really, like, a little upset with myself because I don't have this clear plan. But I think that's nice because I think it's better to go in with an open mind, especially when you're studying law, because there's so much you can do. And just kind of allow yourself the time to think about things and, you know, take different courses and see what you like. And it might be something completely different. Like, if you'd have asked me when I started law, I probably wouldn't have said I was interested in the ADR side of it because I was so focused on, no, I want to be a litigator. But there's this whole other aspect that I hadn't even known about. And so I think that it's important to allow yourself to take those opportunities and to just kind of see what comes. And so I don't know what is going to happen after I finish this degree, or if I'm going to go back to school and do some more education, or if I'll go right into working. But I think it's nice to have that flexibility, and I think it's important to allow myself that breathing room. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. And you mentioned actually briefly hit upon the homesick aspect. Did that strike hard for you? Because with having the connections here beforehand and being able to create the community when you came here, but because you came here at such a turbulent time, did homesick strike you hard at all?
I think I was waiting, and I still am waiting for that big moment. I think for me, it just kind of comes in little moments, honestly, where I'm just like, oh, like I miss this aspect of being home, or, oh, like this person or my mom or my family. But it's never been like this huge thing. The reason for that is because of the community aspect that I've had. You know, I was able to meet people before I moved, and after moving, I got to meet even more people. And so leaning on my friends and my little family that I've made here has been really helpful. And just, you know, keeping busy and getting out there and meeting people in the community, meeting people in school has been great. And I think, like, when I first moved, it was like, okay, I have to be home for Christmas and I'm going to go home for the summers because that's just what I did. But I decided to stay this summer, and that's something that I never would have thought. I thought that I would want to go back at every opportunity I could. But being here is great. I love it here, and having the opportunity to, you know, spend some time in Swansea when the weather is nice. I'm getting to explore around Wales and Gower, and just the Swansea area is beautiful. It's not that I'm not homesick. There are aspects of home that I do miss, but it's the sense of curiosity of being here too. Like, there's so many new experiences, and I think that having both is fine. And, you know, like, feeling a little sad about missing home, but there's so many exciting things here that it makes up for it. And I love spending time here.
And it's not letting feeling homesick get in the way of embracing being here.
No, absolutely not. I feel excited to get on FaceTime with my mom and tell her everything that I've been doing, and like what she visited in June. And so that was her first time here. And she was like, this is so exciting. Like, I get to see what you're talking about and meet the people, you know, and it's been really special sharing that with her.
Are there any places in and around Swansea that you've like been able to discover, any like little secret hidden locations?
Ooh, I mean, I love spending time in Mumbles. That's like my favorite. I love little towns. Like, they're so cute. And having one, it feels so disconnected from Swansea because, like, it is a little, like, I mean, it's very close is the nice part, but it feels so different. So just kind of going into all the little shops and meeting all the people and the different restaurants down there has been really fun. I don't know. Like I was saying, I love little cafes. So in Swansea, I've definitely picked up my favorites. So, and the people that work there, like, I don't know, have you been to Common Meeple?
No, I've heard of it. I've meant to go, but I haven't been there yet.
Yeah, it's a new board game cafe. They've been open for about a year now. And it's amazing. I love it. They have food and board games, and I have a friend who works there now, which is really fun. Yeah, so just kind of going to those little spots, I think. And I mean, like, we've been traveling a lot. Like, we get on trains and just go to little towns like in England or around and just spend the day, spend an overnight. But just, I don't know, it's so different than back home. Like, we can't do those things because, like, our country's so big. Like, Canada's massive, and, you know, you can drive for like a day and a half and still be in Ontario. And so it's really cool of just being able to do these little trips, and you're just so far away from, I don't know. Any travel to me is just so interesting. Like, I really love having the opportunity to do that.
So traveling is definitely a passion of yours.
Yeah, I always knew that I wanted to do like at least a semester abroad, just because traveling was always something I did want to do. And then now, like, being here for 3 years, I'm like, I don't know how anyone does just a year or just a semester. Like, oh my God, like there's so much I still want to do. And I mean, I'm coming to terms with it now. Like, I'm not going to be able to do every single thing in this next year. Like, I've done so much traveling while I've been here and it's been amazing. And so I'm so thankful for that. Cause I mean, like, coming all the way from Canada to do these trips, it's a lot. It takes a lot out of you. So to be able to just hop on a plane and be in another country in like 2 hours, I'm like, this is insane. So yeah, having the opportunity to travel has been so cool.
Before the Trent partnership, before you found that, had studying in the UK or studying anywhere else other than Canada really been on your radar?
Yeah. So it was always something, yeah, like I said, that I knew I wanted to do. And then the Trent partnership just kind of came up perfectly because we have to take this class in grade 10. It's called Civics and Careers. So for careers, we had an assignment and it was like, you have to come up with 3 pathways for university programs that you can take. And I was like, well, I don't want to do this because I have my 25-year plan and I know that I'm going to go to this university for this program and then I'll eventually go to law school. But anyway, I had to complete the project. So I did, 2 universities that were in Ottawa, actually. And then I was like, well, I have to do a third one. What am I going to do? And I was like, well, okay, my mom went to Trent University, so I'll just look up Trent University, thinking I was just going to pick like a criminology program or a history one. And then I came across like the Trent Swansea program, and I was like, oh my gosh. Because, like the other universities I was looking at had the semester abroad deal. But this was something entirely different. I mean, 3 years in a different country is amazing, and the travel opportunities were incredible. So I think I called my mom that lunch and I was like, Mom, I found this program. She's like, oh my goodness, like what have I gotten myself into type thing. And so once I found that, I was like, this is perfect because it combines obviously the law aspect of it, and I could study something I love, but I can study something I love while traveling and having these new experiences. And so that to me was absolutely perfect. And once I kind of found it, it was like there was no going back. That was what I was doing. That was the new 25-year plan. And yeah.
Adjusting that 25-year plan on the fly.
Exactly, yes. With lots of consideration, obviously. No.
Have you got any advice for anyone considering studying outside of their own country?
I don't know. I was talking to actually a student who's studying. She just finished her first year at Trent in this program. So her family was visiting. They're just here in the UK for this week. So we met up for coffee with her yesterday. And so I saw a lot of myself in her, just this, like, she was obviously stressed about it because there's a lot to take on, and applying for a visa is something completely foreign and it's very serious. And there are a lot of stressful aspects of this. But I think that going through that, if I can tell myself advice coming from someone who is me now and having been through that, and I think maybe just, not relax, but just, it's going to be okay. And like, it is a stressful time, but to enjoy it as well. We're all here, like, obviously, and we're all open to mentoring, students who are going through the program. And there's lots of supports in Swansea, but also back at Trent within students, but also with faculty and just programs that there are at both universities, and they're really helpful. And it can seem like a really daunting thing, but it's meant to be really fun as well. And there's amazing opportunities on both ends that students can take part of. And so I think just enjoying the time at Trent, enjoying the time at Swansea, but also the time in the middle. And as scary as it can be, there are lots of great moments. And so I think, yeah, just taking the time to enjoy those and having the most out of your university experience is so important, and taking those opportunities to learn as much as you can. I always say at Swansea, like, we get a million emails as a student every day, but in those emails are incredible opportunities. And if I, didn't take those, then I wouldn't be here, or I wouldn't be, I think, as successful as I am in my studies. So, yeah.
So you mentioned the visa process there. Is there anything related to that you wish you'd known beforehand? Is there anything that you stumbled on the way?
So with the visa process, obviously it is incredible. Like I was saying, it is serious. Yeah, so just kind of knowing, what documents to bring, just paying close attention to that. And so with that, like, now I'm kind of talking to students who are going through that process right now, because obviously it happens in the summer before you move to Swansea. So just making sure that they have all the right documentation and just telling them what I brought, my own experience. There's a lot of nervousness too, because you hand over your passport and they're like, well, we'll come to you with a decision. And it's like, when? Like, what is going on? It just kind of, and I mean, we were going through that after the backlog of COVID too. So a few people, I was lucky, I got my answer within, I think, 10 days, but a few people, were waiting like 2-3 weeks, and it's stressful. So just, having those people to talk to just to kind of have that information. I think when I came over to Swansea too, there was differences that I noticed, like with, setting up a bank account. It's very different. I always say, like, I don't know if it's a UK thing. Like, it's very difficult to open a bank account here. I feel like in Canada, you just kind of walk into a bank and it's like, I'd like to open an account. They're like, okay. But here I was like, oh my God, they need my letter of enrollment and all this stuff. So just kind of making sure that incoming students know those things and are prepared for it. Halls are a bit different than what we're used to. So just, making sure that students know more about that and have the opportunity to look online and see those differences. They're flagged for them. But I think as more students go through this program, it'll be even better than it already is because we'll have that, direct experience that we can share. And I mean, students have now in the program have gone back for their 6th year. So I think that would have been, like, I would have loved to have those students to ask a million questions to when I was back at Trent. And so I'm excited to do that for other students. Like when I get back, just answering as many questions as I can and making it seem less scary because it really isn't. Like it seems so daunting, but it's just life. And I mean, that might sound crazy, but everything just works out and there are systems in place to help us. It's just a matter of, getting to those points and then eventually things just work themselves out.
What are 3 essential things for students to have in their suitcase before they come over?
Ooh, in their suitcase. You need your adapters. Oh my gosh. I only brought, I think, 2 at first. Now I have like 10. Like, make sure you bring those. But not for, apparently with like hair tools, they can like blow up because ours is not the same voltage. So be really careful with those is my big tip. What else? Oh, okay. This is going to be really controversial, but I am of the opinion that we have better snack foods in Canada. If there are any Canadians watching this, goldfish crackers, my absolute favorite. They're meant for like toddlers, but I just never stopped eating them. So now every time I go home, I make sure to bring goldfish crackers or Kraft dinner. I miss Kraft dinner so much. It's like macaroni and cheese in a box. It's like neon orange. Like there's no cheese in it, but oh my gosh, do I miss it. So yeah, every time I have a friend who goes, like my friend is still in Canada for the summer, I already messaged her. I'm like, you need to bring me some snacks. So yes, definitely some snacks. I think a really good raincoat. Obviously everyone knows it rains here, but we always would use umbrellas back home. But I feel like umbrellas are just obsolete here. Like they're not helpful at all because the wind. So I came over, I bought my umbrella, and then I quickly learned that no, this will not work. So got a really good raincoat with a good hood, and I've been fine ever since. So just, yeah.
Good coat and snacks.
Good coat and snacks, and you're set for life.
Amazing. That's great. Thank you, Lexie. And thank you for listening to this. This has been the International Student Experience, a Swansea University podcast. I've been Dav, and if you'd like to find out more, please visit swansea.ac.uk/international.